Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Classroom to Corner Office, a podcast meant to help everyone navigate the wild world of work, whether that's somebody that's new to the workforce or somebody looking for a change in their career or profession. This podcast is for you. Today, I'm joined by Andrew Nemecek, who currently serves as an accounting manager. So, we're going to talk a little bit more about what that may mean to those budding accounting professionals who are like, well, I understand what it means to be a public accountant, a private accountant, do these different things. What does it mean to be an accounting manager? So, Andrew, thanks for joining today and imparting some of your wisdom and talking about your career journey.
Yeah, thanks for having me. When you told me you were starting up this podcast, I think I was one of the first people to be like, "Hey, I'll help you out. I'll talk about that." I don't really talk about career too much. Kind of just go to work and then go home to the fam. But this will be fun.
Yeah, and that's what this is, right? There's some people that don't even think, right? What does my journey have to impart on somebody? But everyone has a story and everyone has a reason they got where they are, and there's somebody somewhere that will be interested. So, I appreciate it. So, why don't you just talk about? Let's get right into it. You're an accounting manager, but I am sure that this was not like the aspiration at the time. So, how have you got to where you are now, and maybe what are some pivotal moments in this career path?
Yeah, so it all started in college. You might know the college I went to. Went to Wheeling back in the day, back when it was Wheeling Jesuit. So this is aging myself a little bit, but I went to play baseball. So I guess you can say I went to college to play sports and Division 2 athlete. But at a Division 2 athlete, not as many scholarships and stuff. You really are going to do schoolwork and play sports. I would say that it's mostly sports is just passes the time, makes the time go by faster and takes your mind off some things where you have like an activity to do. So I love that part of things. But so when it came to choosing a degree back then, I just thought back to high school and like honestly, I thought what came easy to me or what I did well in high school wasn't science and it wasn't things like that. And it was more, we had an accounting class that we took and I had some, I had some interest in that. It was kind of interesting, debits and credits and whatnot. And I was like, just learning it where it's not just basic math. It's more of like how to put numbers where they need to go. So that was interesting to me. So I paired that with just, everyone needs an accountant and the need is always there. A lot of people run their own businesses and don't kind of know what they're doing or don't want to do the accounting part of things. So, I was just did some research and it was pretty much like that's like the most demand is accounting. Accountants are all not a lot of people like to do it and they're always in need. So that's kind of how I chose the degree that I chose back then.
Yeah, and choosing accounting and willingly putting yourself into that fold, I don't know if that's an awareness level that maybe many at that age don't have. So, what kind of inspired that? Was that your own research? Was that conversations with people? How did you arrive at that aside from what you just said? Were there some people along the way that maybe inspired you?
Yeah, I think I had my parents for sure were one that was like, "Oh yeah, if you really enjoy it, like that's a great industry to go in. You should easily find a job and things like that. Might not be the highest paying at first, but down the road, move your way up or whatever. It's not like you're a doctor and you start making big money right away, but you also don't have to go to school for 8 years. So it's accounting was a 4 year degree. There can be some arguments now that you can get more hours to get your CPA and things like that. Maybe we'll get into that later. But so that was kind of my parents. And then again in high school, I had some counselors that, I asked them about the degree and they kind of explained to me that a lot of the first starting classes are ones that we already kind of took at the high school I went to. So yeah, it was more, I don't want to say I took the easy way out, but it was something I was interested in. And I knew I could get a job after college, which was my parents always told me, you're going to go for college for 4 years. You're going to play baseball for 4 years and you're coming home and you're getting a job or you're going somewhere and getting a job. There's no red shirting. There's no, I don't know what undecided majors, like you're going for four and that's what you're doing. So, they guided me every step of the way and that turned out being some great advice.
Yeah, and you said debits and credits and kind of the order, right? Not just the math, but putting things in order and knowing where they go. Not many 18-year-olds, in my estimation, that I've had conversations with are like, you know what drew me to accounting? Debits and credits.
Yeah. It's more than 2 plus 2 equals 4. It's kinda like, why does 2 plus 2 equal 4? Which 2 goes in which bucket? So, it's just it was just interesting to me.
Yeah, so you navigate through this. this collegiate education, get your accounting degree. What does it look like after that? And I'm not, let's just not say directly after that, but towards the latter semesters or years of your collegiate education at that point, being a student athlete as well. How did you go about this job search? Right? That's something that many college students struggle with. When do I start? How do I start? Where should I be looking? Where should I not be looking? So, how did that process go for you?
Yeah. So again, parents said 4 years and you're getting a job. So it was always on my mind of what am I going to do after college? Right. So really in the accounting world, maybe this combo might be tailored to like kind of the accounting business world, but sure there's a lot out there that might want to hear it. So it's either you can kind of stay in school for another year and go towards your graduate degree and get 150 credit hours to sit your for your CPA. You could do that. You could just go straight into industry accounting, which is just like working for a company, or you can start working for a accounting firm. In most cases, they're gonna want you to get your CPA at some point in your career to, go up the hierarchy at an accounting firm. So those are really the three options. Honestly, when I got done with school, I was kind of done. I didn't want to do any more schooling at the time. And then public accounting is very fast paced, a lot of traveling, not being at home. Your schedule's all over the place, work a lot of hours, which I didn't really want to do that either. So I honestly just, I think I took like 3 months to myself at home, learned how to golf actually, because I was a baseball player. So it's a different game. So I learned how to golf for like 3 months, played a lot. And then it was time to, start applying for jobs. And this is going to be weird, but with an accounting degree, the first place I went was like a Robert Half or something like that, where it's like a temp agency and just getting my foot in the door and working for like random companies for honestly, it was like $15 an hour or something. Like just like I had to go start doing something, getting into the field, learning some things at these companies about accounting. And that's kind of where I started was literally working for like a temp firm.
Yeah, and early on, right, you understand going into that, especially with that strategy, "Hey, I'm not gonna be late making a lot of money, but I'm gonna start to acquire the knowledge and skills and learn more of the application of not just the theoretical, but, what
Yep.
you had learned, throughout your collegiate career." So what were some of those initial, whether it's soft skills or whether those are technical skills or the application of that theory that you recall in that first, we'll say, 6 to 12 months? That really helped you accelerate, "Hey, now I kinda get it."
Yeah, so, I started in, like, the AP department, like, applying, like, vendor credits and applying, like, checks to invoices and stuff, and sitting in a cubicle and kinda, like, having, like, 3 or 4 people just, like, throw me stuff to do, and then, yeah, that's kinda where it started was literally just that, and then you kinda learn about the different departments in accounting, and, "Oh, over there's the accounts receivable department. Oh, over there's the general accounting department." Here these are the staff accounts, these are the managers, like you kind of just learn. I just learned that company, and then not to go too far, but then a spot opened up at that company and I applied for it and I got it right away because I was already there with my foot in the door, as a temp, and that's what got me over. I'm sure they had other resumes and stuff, but just being there and already knowing the people and just expressing how much I wanted, to get that job, get that first staff accountant job is I think what got me that one.
Yeah, so now you're a staff accountant. In the world of accounting, you kind of put a little bit of a hierarchy there to maybe some of the roles, especially within a company like that you were working at the time. Was the aspiration then to continue moving up to be, in the current role that you're in, or were there some winding roads or just different paths along the way that you had to decide, okay, now that I'm in a staff accountant role, this should be the progressive step, or did you kind of get off of that beaten path and take some other opportunities to help build your skill set or help position yourself to get to where you are?
Yeah, good question. So I think it was like after about 2 years is when, and in accounting, a lot of accounting is the same monthly process over and over. So you're kind of doing the same tasks monthly or even yearly or sometimes quarterly. And after 2 years, I just felt like it just kind of got boring a little bit. And there was really nowhere to move up where I was at. I could have went to a different department or something like that, into finance or into banking or something like that. But the actual general accounting department, there really wasn't any, couldn't be a supervisor yet. I was still pretty young. So I had a public accounting firm reach out to me and be like, "Hey, we're always looking for public accountants like at this firm, like, if you would consider." And I was like, "Well, I should probably go see what public accounting is like." As you remember, like 5 minutes ago, when I was saying I didn't want to do that right out of college because of all the traveling and all that. But now that I kind of understood what I was doing, I felt comfortable to take that chance. So I was kind of comfortable where I was at. I was in a routine. I wouldn't say it was easy, but it was very repetitious and I was comfortable. But I had to break out of my comfort zone, which is sometimes hard for me to do, and take a chance. And I went to public accounting. So I actually, not like a lot of people where they go from college to public accounting and then in industry. I went from college to industry accounting to public accounting.
Yeah, and you said that somebody had reached out to you. So obviously you had built either a network of people that knew who you were, knew the what you had been doing, the skills that you had, maybe some about your performance. So how did that network develop for you, right? Because you were in industry accounting and then moved to the public side. Was this through, we'll just say, natural networking, through events, through conferences, through after work, after hours events? How did you develop that network? And what was maybe a key moment where your network, in this case, obviously, led to a position opening and a discussion, an interview, and ultimately a role?
Yeah, so we'll get to it, but I think LinkedIn wasn't really too much of a thing back then. We'll get to it, but now LinkedIn, in my opinion, and especially in the business world, accounting, finance world, is very important to have. But there was not LinkedIn back then, or at least I didn't have one. So this happened to actually be a friend's girlfriend's, we'll call it like a brother or something like that, that kind of reached out to him and knew I was an accountant and asked if I wanted to come over to that firm. So it was basically, yeah, through relationships. It was a friend of a friend, and they were, kind of like, "Hey, I know Andrew's an accountant. Like, do you think he wants to come try the public firm? We're looking for kind of, new people to kind of lead or do some audits." So what was weird about that was they were really intrigued about how I already had industry experience. So when you're a public accounting, you're auditing industry. Well, some public accountants when they first start, they don't know exactly what they're auditing. They're just like kind of doing what they're told through the step by step program that they have at the firm. So I was able to like actually relate to some of the deliverables and what the auditors needed when I was there. And then I was able to kind of communicate that to them at a more like experienced level. And they really, really like that about me. Because not many people go from industry accounting to public accounting.
Yeah, so a little bit unorthodox the way that you got to that point in your career. Is that something that you would suggest? If we have budding accountants listening right now, those that are about to graduate college or trying to carve out that initial career path, is that something you would suggest, or did that just work out for you kind of serendipitously, or not fall in your lap because you had to seek out the opportunities? So the prescribed path, like you said, is usually public accounting, and then figure it out from there. What about your journey would lead somebody to maybe follow in that?
Yeah, I really enjoyed how it happened for me. It worked out for me just to get my feet wet in like kind of like a 9 to 5 job and not get thrown into 80 hours a week and beat down. And public accounting really is like you get beat down a lot, and it's just you eat like crap. You're always on the road. Not a very healthy lifestyle. So I do I liked how I did it. Now, if I went back and redid it, I would get my 150 hours and try for my CPA right out of school, because even though I was done with school back then, once you get into the real world, you surely don't want to go back, and it's really hard to go back. So that would be my guidance to any new grads or anything like that, is to just for counting to get your 150 hours and then try your CPA. Whether you can go home and live at home, save on expenses that way or whatever you need to do. But that's what I kind of wish I would have done, because I am not a CPA. I never went back and did it. I did get my MBA after the fact, which was hard enough, but I never then went and sat for the four sections of the CPA, which takes, sometimes a year and a half. But at this point, it's almost like it's kind of too late to do that at this point in my life. But so I do wish I would have done that. But I think the public to industry, I would recommend that for people.
Okay, good. So you found your way into public accounting. You obviously had some skills from your original positions that you said fed really well into that role, supporting the team, supporting the companies that you were serving. So, what do you think were the primary skills or knowledge that you obtained in that transition into public accounting, and maybe during those first 2 or 3 years, that has served you well past that point and up to this point in your career?
Yeah, so I would say just that fact that I took that chance. It's always good to sometimes take chances, even when you're comfortable or whatever. Find it and take the chance because sometimes you learn new things. And then at the job itself, I'd say I build a lot of communication skills. You're working a lot with clients and people you don't know, as opposed to industry. You're kind of going into the office and talking to the same four or five, your boss and a couple coworkers every day. Well, this is driving to this place, driving to this location, meeting this person, doing inventory counts here of things you don't even know. Like I was counting iron and like I was just so many different metal, so many things that you just would never go into. And yeah, it just made me. I thought it made me a better professional. Just kind of getting that exposure instead of 8 to 5 continuously sitting at a desk doing the same thing over and over again for the first 2 years that I was. So I was only there for a year though, because I did get like, okay, this is enough of this, and it's just hard work. So I knew what industry was like. I now knew what public accounting was like, and I was like, okay, I need to go back to industry. Settle down a little bit, get back in a routine. So that's what I did. I went and worked for a public company actually as a senior accountant after I left my 1 year of in public accounting.
Good. So you got your feet wet. You
Yep.
got the experience. You're like, you know what? I've experienced both worlds now. It's time to get back, working for a specific company or having a specific role. But you spoke to something there about that communication, right? And that public accounting role and for that year. Many, I would say, as they start their collegiate career as an accounting major, aren't thinking about that. Right. They're thinking about I need to learn how to, the debits and credits, understand the ins and outs of, these different practices, processes, procedures. But if you do make your way into public accounting right out of school, it is a lot of that. It's communicating, it's having conversations, it's understanding how to navigate difficult conversations at times, right? Hey, this is what we have to do. This is the information I need. We're working for you. You got to give it to me so that I can help you out. So I think that's a good lesson to those that are in accounting that, you're not just going to be sitting in a cubicle crunching the numbers. If you're going to be in public accounting, there's going to be that face-to-face interaction, that interface, and like you said, that travel schedule is a grind.
Yep. And you learn to manage your time really well. They throw 100 things at you and you have to figure out they really don't you pretty much report to many different bosses in public accounting. There's all kinds of partners, all kinds of senior managers, all kinds of managers, all kinds of seniors, and you don't really have one boss. You have a bunch. So when this person's asking for this and this person's asking for this, you have to take responsibility and figure out how to manage your time and what to prioritize. And that's really what you learn in public accounting, at least as on top of learning how to talk to people, getting in front of people, and building the relationships with other people that you don't know.
Yeah, you make that transition back, in industry working for the company. You said senior accountant.
Yep.
So how do we make that transition to where we are now? How does that happen? Is that a natural progression or is this, another one of those networking situations?
Yeah. So senior accountant. Again, I was there for 4 years. I was comfortable. I was in a routine. I liked who I worked for. And after 4 years, I was like, okay, I'm bored again. I'm doing the same stuff. There's not really a place to move up here. When you're a professional, you're always trying to move up or always trying to. Is there a plan to move up? And there really never was at where I was at. So then I took another chance and became a senior accountant at a different company. It was like a pay increase, but the same title, different industry, and just a whole new company. And I was like, I'm just bored. I need to keep growing and keep growing. And I didn't have kids. I didn't have a family yet. Like I had a wife, but no kids, but keep going, keep growing. So took the chance and I went to another company, different industry, like I said, and I ended up not liking it. Didn't like who I worked for. There was no communication. Mind you, this was during COVID. So there wasn't people in the office, but I was in the office because I didn't know anything, didn't know anybody. They were trying to train me. So just kind of maybe I'll blame a lot of it on the COVID transition. Just kind of like a weird time. That was a weird time. Where again there was like a team, but everyone was like messaging each other on the computer, and I didn't know who anybody was, and it just didn't work out for me. I was only there for a year, and then I not and then we'll get into now how I got to where I am now. Saw a LinkedIn post from somebody I used to work with at my job after public accounting. So the one I was at for 4 years. He used to work there and he was now at this company. as like a controller, and he posted like, "Hey, I'm looking for, some kind of senior level, manager. We can figure it out. We'll figure out the title. I just need kind of like someone to help me out." So I reached out to him and I was just like, "Oh, haha, would be cool if we worked together again," like as kind of like a joke. Like he was like a friend. We hung out like after work and networked a couple times, like, at happy hours and stuff. But I wouldn't have called him like a really close friend back then. We didn't hang out on weekends or anything. So I messaged him. I was like, it'd be funny if we worked to get together again. And he was like, well, maybe we could. Like, and I was like, oh, like, no, I'm doing this and I'm making this. And he was like, oh, okay. Like, but, a little like, a little lunch conversation wouldn't hurt anything, wouldn't it? And I'm like, nope, I don't think so. So left work one Friday at lunch and went and had lunch with him. And he talked about needing like a right hand person and this and that, and how he thought it could work. And he doesn't know about the pay or the title yet, but he would just want to have this conversation first and then take it back to the powers that be. And yeah, they really wanted me, and that's where we're at now. Accounting manager, and I think I've been there for, I don't know, 3, maybe going on 4 years almost. But it's awesome. I get to I've always wanted to manage people. Always wanted to be kind of like a leader, someone that asks questions of me and I can help them out, and just kind of being that like guiding factor. So being an actual manager and managing people was like a main goal of mine ever since I started.
Yeah, so there's a theme here, right? Along the way, you're taking chances, right? These are not known entities. You don't know exactly what you're getting into. You know it's either a better move for you professionally in the long run. Maybe there's a little bit more money. Maybe a title comes with it. I think a lot of times when students are coming out, or even you initially, right? Accounting is a stable profession. There will always be jobs. I think many times people have the kind of preconceived notion that that means I'm going to probably be working at the same place for long stretches of time, right? You took a different path. You took chances multiple times in this journey, and they have all either worked out for the better at that time, or they have led to an opportunity that has helped you. So for you, whether that's mentally, emotionally, how did you come to those decisions of, you know what, it's time to jump and do something different? I understand you said you got bored. I would say we want to go back to some stereotypes. People would say sometimes the accounting world can be boring, but for you, that seemed to be what it was. I kind of got too comfortable and I knew it was time to make a different step.
Yeah. Yeah, it's maybe boredom's not the right word, but just got in too much of a routine and was sick of staring at the same computer, doing the same spreadsheets month after month. And it wasn't a challenge, became not a challenge. So, but again, with this job now, it's a manager, so different things are getting thrown at me every day. You get to dealing with the employees and, the things that come with that, managing people. Not only are you managing your job, you're managing theirs and making sure that they're okay, they're happy, they're, doing what they're supposed to do. And again, it's just every day there's kind of something different. There's still a routine, but it's not as repetitious as it is for like a staff accountant when you're kind of, just doing the same things month over month. But then some people like that. Some people are senior accountants for 25 years because they're complacent and they're fine with, going to work every day the same place and doing that. And again, that's fine. But again, accounting isn't the most extravagant, outgoing industry that there is. But again, back to the original point is there's always jobs, it's always needed, and there's always things you can bebop around and do different things, different parts of the accounting cycle, different departments of the accounting teams. And yeah.
So finding that niche, right, within accounting. And part of that, like you said, is managing people. You wanted that opportunity to oversee a team, to support a team and be in that light. And that's not everyone's cup of tea. As somebody myself who's been a people manager the majority of my career, that is when it's rewarding, it is the most rewarding. And whenever you have bad days, some days, times they are the worst days you've experienced professionally, at least. So I'm sure you find a lot of that, right? The ebb and flow, the ups and downs, the peaks and the valleys of your work day to day.
Yep, absolutely. Some days you just don't know what you're going to run into on a daily basis. Someone comes in the office upset, someone comes in the office mad, someone comes in there, could be even personal at home things. You got to help them through that. You got to be their mentor, and they ask for advice on even life things, and it's just sometimes it's more than work, and it's just again building. It's all about relationships and building relationships, and I just really enjoy doing that.
Yeah, awesome. So you've got a place in your career, right? Not only do you feel fulfilled in the work that you're doing, but right, you're also kind of feeding. It seems like that need for affiliation as well. That need to have that social interaction, be a part of your day to day work, right? Not sitting in a cubicle, not traveling all over the place to connect with people on this project, that project, this account, this report, whatever it is you would be working through in like an audit type process. So, so again, wrapping up the current place in your career, what along the way do you think has served you the best? Right, what has helped propel you from position to position and put you in a position right now where you're happy, finding success, and feeling fulfilled?
Yep. And so we talked about taking chances. That obviously worked out for me. It doesn't always work out. It didn't work out in the one where I went to 1 year. It didn't work out, but then it got to, and then I happened to get to where I wanted to be after the fact. So taking chances is important. I always try to be on time to work. I try not to play hooky, play, sick days or whatever. I try to be, faithful, loyal, tell the truth. Um, I just feel like that's got me a long way. But yeah, mostly be on time and ask questions. Don't try to, don't take the shortcuts. Just if you really don't know, just ask. And, I'm still at a point in my career where there's always someone to ask. Hope maybe one day there won't be, and I'll have to make the decision. If you don't know, ask. And there's no people, the cliche saying is there's no dumb question or no question's a dumb question. It's that's true in my opinion. There is, unless you're asking that same question over and over again, then it becomes a dumb question. But if it's a different question, it's never a dumb question.
Yeah, so right now in the accounting world, right, there's a lot of talk about how right, the development of artificial intelligence, different tools, and even, right, we've seen the proliferation of support for people just doing individual taxes and how that can help with small businesses, whether there's a software packages as opposed to going to people. So obviously you're serving a specific company at this point, but what do you see maybe in the next 5 to 10 years within the accounting profession? The ways that, and I don't want to say technology will eliminate jobs, but how will it support, do you think, the work that will be done day to day for people in this industry?
Yeah, so haven't really thought about that too much. Obviously, there's AI can help my job on a daily basis. I just in my lifetime, I don't see AI taking over like actual full on accountants. It could take over certain duties that we could do or tasks that we could do, but I still think someone needs to manage the books themselves. So I don't see maybe I'm just not seeing it correctly, but at least in my lifetime, or I think anyone living right now, you're always going to need accountants, and that's just kind of my take on that. But yeah, yeah, I don't I do use AI some now. Back when I first started, obviously it wasn't a thing, never used it, but questions, whatever, formulas, how to do something, tax rules, things like that. You can use AI for any of that stuff.
Yeah, I like to tell students, right? Everybody at this point knows this. If you've been listening along, you know that I teach at the college level. A lot of what I tell students is, hey, you're right now going through a transition of people finding a different tool and finding out how to use it in the best ways. For me, going through college, it was never use Wikipedia. This is the end all be all. It's going to ruin the way that people look at information, research. I say this is just your generation's version of what I went through with Wikipedia. Right? People will find how to use it effectively. You'll find out how to, where the gaps are, where it doesn't serve you well. So it sounds like you're using it in the day to day, and whether that helps you every time or whether you find like, oh, nope, this isn't what I wanted. Now I got to figure out a different way to do it. And it's just using the tool effectively.
Yeah, I would say I don't use it probably as much as some accounting people do or accounting professions do, but yeah, I do. I have started to implement it, and it is still a new thing, right? We're in 2026. It's still like it has still a new thing. So yeah, I've been trying to put it more and more because it does save time, and especially if you're bombarded, you can do things a lot faster if you use AI for some of those things. But it's all about using AI correctly. To your point.
Yeah. So you shared definitely some good bits of knowledge there about taking chances, being willing to step out of your comfort zone, accept the challenges, and even information you would give to younger you about how to kind of transition or progress within the accounting profession by taking maybe time earlier on to expand your credentials and look for that CPA. Is there any other bits of information you would share with 22-ish-year-old Andrew in the classroom, whether it's in that junior or senior year, that you would have done differently, whether it was, like you said, towards the accounting profession or just generally how you approach work?
I don't think so. Just be, besides just doing it a little bit differently with getting the CPA right away and things like that, college is you learn the thing about college is, at least when I went, is you learn a little bit about everything. Even if you have a degree, that degree has many different ways you can go. Accounting has cost accounting, it has forensic accounting, it has general accounting, it has accounts receivable, it has accounts payable, inventory accounting. Like there's so many different ways you can go in accounting. And college, you're taking a cost accounting class, you're taking all accounting 2, accounting 1, like all these different accounting classes and business classes, and you're not going to be able to learn everything in college. A lot of it for me was learned on the job. You learn on the job and you're like, "Oh yeah, I kind of like remember studying that, but like when I studied it, it didn't make that much sense until you apply it to real life." And I think that probably goes for any industry and any degree in college, but you kind of just learn the basics, and you don't have to take everything. And yeah, you have to pass the test. Yeah, you have to get good grades, but you don't have to like, oh, I better remember everything about cost accounting. There's a chance you never even use your cost accounting class in whatever accounting degree you go into. Like you could be business law, you could use that instead. You could be some kind of forensic accountant. Like that's kind of the only thing I can remember thinking back was like it. Some of it transitioned, but certainly not nearly majority of it transitioned. There's a little bits and pieces that would transition, and then I learned a lot of it on the job. Asked people, taught myself, went and got my MBA, learned more then it made more sense. Once I went into the industry and then when I got my MBA, I was like, okay, now I know what I'm learning. But when you're a kid and you're in college, they're like, here, this is the material. They're kind of forcing it to you. This is the material. Here's the test. You have to pass it. But you don't really know how to use that information in the real world until you get out there. So I would just say, take it, obviously, apply everything, do as best you can, but you don't have to take in 100% and make sure it stays ingrained in your brain for your college career.
Yeah, I like to say you're learning how to learn. You're learning how to be trainable. You're learning how to be coachable because whatever job or jobs, right, you get in the first 5 to 10 years out of college is all about going to be molding you as a person and as a professional. In whatever industry or direction you go in, you're going to learn how to be successful. And if you don't learn how to be successful, that's going to be an opportunity for you to find a new position because you're going to be moved up or moved out in some way. So
Yep.
learn how to learn how to be trainable, learn how to be coachable, and always seek whatever that next challenge is. Because when you get complacent, which you definitely did not, right? You found opportunities along the way. That's whenever people just kind of get in that rut professionally.
100%. Couldn't have said it better.
There we go. So moving on to the end here as we kind of transition out. I've been trying to, especially over like probably the last 10 to 15 episodes at this point, by the time this is coming out, give people the opportunity to shout out anybody along their career journey, whether that's back to high school, college, or post college, that you think has been a valuable mentor or somebody that's really helped progress you professionally. Is there anybody specifically you'd like to shout out?
I don't think so, at least not by name. I guess the first job I had, again, you don't know much. Like that first, after my intern, after my temp, the first job I finally got. Again, you really don't know what is accounting until you're kind of doing the month over month tasks, and you ask a lot of questions. And the manager that I had back then was very understanding of that, and coached, taught, showed how to do multiple times until I finally got it. Didn't get upset with me. Didn't get irritated. Knew I was an entry level accountant. So I was very, very grateful of that and kind of that good learning. Cause again, he was kind of higher up. He was like a controller. He didn't have to sit down with an entry level accountant and show again and explain it well. He could have just been like, here you go, like go figure it out. Or here's the notes on how to do it. Go read those notes and then go figure it out. Like, I don't know. I'm a hands-on type person. So being able to not read something and then apply it, like when I'm shown it, it worked a lot better for me. So I'm pretty grateful of that person I had back when I first started. I think it helped me a lot, at least get to where I'm at now.
Yeah, I'll give you a shout out. I'm gonna shout out your parents for sitting you down before you went into college and said, "Hey, this is the real life situation you're going to be presented with, right? You're going to get 4 years, and you need to find an opportunity." And I'll shout out you for digging. Right? There's a lot of 18-ish-year-olds that would say, well, that's a 4 years from now problem, right? You were proactive and said, okay, let's find a major, which leads into an industry that's going to be growing and it has some level of stability, right? Over time. It's not something that is just a flash in the pan and is a 6 year job spike and then it goes the other way. So that's what I'm gonna
Yeah.
shout out your parents and you.
Yep, I shouted them out pretty much at the beginning of the pod when I told them that that's who started like my path was them. So I was thinking work related shout outs, but yes, 100% shout out to parents. Couldn't have better supporters in my life.
There we go. Well, Andrew, thank you. Right, this has been enlightening, especially for people that are interested in accounting. Right, there's not just the path that is probably mostly prescribed. Right, go to public accounting and then find out if that's for you, or then off ramp into some other industry areas. So maybe the less talked about path, but definitely one that has served you well, and has put you in a position where it sounds like you're really happy,
Yeah.
right, to be where
No,
you
I
are and to have the experiences that
yep. I was able to raise two kids so far and be able to have a good work life balance, and it's 8 minutes from home and everything, and it's flexible, and if something's wrong I'm able to get off, like whatever. It couldn't have been better. One piece of guidance I'll give, I mentioned it a little bit earlier, is in the business accounting world, LinkedIn is super important. There's recruiters, and in like, if you're looking, there's recruiters in inboxes all day long, every day. That's their job. Is there's just recruiter. That's how people jump from job to job in the accounting world. Is they're recruited. A lot of recruiting going on in that industry. So keeping your LinkedIn professional, keeping it appropriate, and keeping it up to date is one of the most important things you can do in this industry, in my opinion.
There we go. I don't even know if we're connected on LinkedIn. Maybe that'll be something we do here
Let's
in the
do it.
next 5 minutes.
Let's do
So,
it.
all right, Andrew, thank you again. Appreciate it. For everybody listening out there, make sure you follow Classroom to Corner Office on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. Do all the things to get connected with it. Follow. Being on YouTube's cool. You get all the shorts, you get the reels on Instagram. If you have anybody, if you're listening right now, if you have anybody that you think may be a good fit to have this type of discussion and have something to impart on people in the professional world, make sure you connect them with me and tune in to the next episode of Classroom to Corner Office Career Talks with Chris.